Everybody thinks it's a get-rich-quick scheme. Everybody thinks you're going to just make a whole bunch of money. It's super easy. It's what goes on between your ears that will differentiate somebody who's successful trading and someone who's not. Why is the psychology of trading and day trading two things that need to be understood before you can really be successful at it? The Einstein of Wall Street here, infinite possibilities outside the New York Stock Exchange, experiential square. Life is all about experience, right? And so think about it from a day trading perspective. Anybody can be taught to hit a button to get into a stock. It's what you do when you get in the trade that differentiates those who are successful and not successful. It's what goes on between your ears that will differentiate somebody who's successful trading and someone who's not. We kind of let that fall under the auspices of the psychology of trading. Now, there are actually people, psychologists, people who know that space, who are actually now advising hedge funds and day traders on the psychology of day trading. Why is the psychology of trading and day trading two things that need to be understood before you can really be successful at it? Okay, well, let's look at the downside. People come in, they grew up, playing video games. They're very adept at their keyboards and they know what they're doing there. But they never used it to make money because it's not a monetizable thing. Then they see day trading. Everybody's eyes are on the stock market. Everybody wants to know what goes on in this building. How did you become rich? Where did you make your money? Oh, day trading, investing, that's now accessible and affordable to the masses, to everybody. However, 90% of people who try and day trade fail. That is a fact. 90% of people who try to day trade the stock market fail. Now, look, investing is more of a long-term thing. Everybody should have a little bit of money in the game, right? Whether you have a 401k from your job or you have a long-term portfolio, you open up something on Robinhood, you open it up on Webull, you put a couple of dollars on stocks, you're an investor. It's a long-term game. However, day trading has now exploded onto the scene. There are 50, 100 million people in the world. Think about it. We're like a world with 4 billion people, right? There are easily 50 to 100 million people, new people coming into the day trading space thanks to Robinhood and Webull and the accessibility of Apex, right? That make it so that all the barriers to entry of an individual to become a day trader are now down. Anybody with an iPhone and $100 can day trade the market. Everyone needs to understand, before COVID, this was not available, right? The red ropes were everywhere. This was a very exclusive place, not very inclusive, right? It was literally, you needed to be an accredited investor to day trade this market, even to invest in the market. So they kept out everybody, right? People who could participate in this amazing game were being excluded. COVID comes along, Webull, Robinhood comes along, and everybody has access to the stock market. Literally, I'm showing you my own iPhone. Everybody with an iPhone and $100 can suddenly day trade the stock market. All the barriers to entry are down. However, none of those platforms do anything from an educational point of view to teach people what to do when you get into a trade, teach people what to do on the day trading side or the investing side. So when COVID came along, everybody had access to the stock market. And with that probability number of 90% of the people who try to do this fail, well, what'd you have? You had 100 million people come in. They tried to day trade. It was a meme phenomenon. It was COVID. Everyone was sheltered in place, all that stuff. And what you ended up happening was that 100 million people blew up their trading accounts and they all went home with their tail between their legs, really upset. They said, you know what? You excluded us from this party for 100 years. Now you let us into the party, but you didn't tell us the rules. So we blew ourselves up and that's not fair. I don't want to be invited to the party after being excluded for all those years. You don't teach us what to do. And now I'm like sitting here having lost every penny that I had. What is the way to combat this predicament? Is first of all, learn how to day trade. You call Wall Street Global Trading Academy, you call David Green, one of the greatest teachers in the space. You come and listen to me. You open up an account using Apex, but you need to learn the rules of discipline and consistency. Above all, you need to learn the psychology of trading. So let's think about it. I sit down at my desk and there's stocks. I have to learn how to work the charts. I have to learn about technical analysis. I have to learn what do I do when I get into a trade. Everybody can be taught to hit a button to buy or sell stock. But it's what you do when you get into a trade that differentiates those winners from losers, right? It's like life, right? Life throws a lot of stuff at you, but it's the way you react to life that makes the difference between the successful people and the people who are not successful. So let's talk about psychology of trading for a minute. Everybody thinks it's a get-rich-quick scheme. Everybody thinks you're going to just make a whole bunch of money. It's super easy. It's not the case. The first thing you should do is go hire someone for $200 a day with a 2x4, and every time you do something stupid, he smacks you in the back of the head. That's my first bit of recommendation. But from a psychology point of view, the most important thing is, first of all, you need to learn and educate yourself about technical analysis, risk management, money management, order management. What do I do when I get into a trade? The next thing you knew is you need to understand what it means about hitting singles and doubles. You can't get into a trade. First of all, you've got to have a stop order on every trade. That's part of the psychology. You need to identify your downside risk before you get into a trade. Secondly, you need to understand that this is not a get-rich-quick scheme, right? That the most important thing to do is to hit singles and doubles. You don't want to be a home run hitter because you know what? How often do you hit a home run? Once a week, once a month? It's not the way to go. So there are rules of discipline and consistency in order to teach you how to become a successful trader. But the psychology part is the hard part. It's all about confidence. It's all about listening to the rules. It's all about getting into a trade, taking small bits of money every day. This is a probability game, okay? If you are a successful trader 51% of the time, you can make money. Hitting singles and doubles, taking what the market's willing to give you. But if you go in there with this idea that it's, get rich quick, I buy a FOMO, hype, hope, are not trading strategies that are sustainable. So first of all, you got to learn how to do it. Secondly, you've got to get your psychology, because what goes on between our ears is the most challenging part of it, right? Because it's a confidence game. Oh, it's going to the moon. You're listening to people on the internet, right? All of that stuff is only problematic, right? You need to understand the rules, understand discipline, understand your own shortcomings, right? You can't live in resentments. You can't overtrade. You can't revenge trade. These are the mistakes that unsuccessful traders make. Getting into a trade, not having a stop order, staying in it too long, watching it at 50, buying it at $50, it goes to 51. You think, oh, it's going to the moon. Everybody told you it's going to the moon. You go get a coffee, it's trading at 48. What do? You buy more. It goes to 46, you buy more. So understanding how hitting singles and doubles, if I buy a stock at $50 and I have a stop order at 49.5 and it goes to 50.5 and I sell half my position, I move my stop up to break even. Imagine this, I just made a little bit of money and I cannot lose money on the trade. That is the greatest feeling in the friggin' world. I made 50 cents and I can't lose money on the trade. That will build a confidence. That will build consistency and discipline. That is the level of psychology that I want everybody to understand. So look, most people fail. You have to figure out your role and your place in the game. You've got to learn how to hit singles and doubles. You need to get into a trade, get out of a trade, make a little money. Have a plan on how much I want to make when I hit my goal. Turn the machine off, never overtrade, never revenge trade. And understand your shortcomings when it comes to the psychology of anything, right? It's helpful in relationships. It's helpful in trading. It's helpful in making money. So anyway, I could go on and on about this. At the end of the day, that's what you got. You want to learn how to do it? I'm happy to help you teach it. Wall Street Global Trading Academy, we teach that. Psychology of trading is pivotal to be a successful trader. That's all I got to say about that. I'm done. Boom.